Okay, boomer. If you haven't heard, that is the phrase that is destroying our country. It's ripping us apart at the seams. It has set the internet on fire. It is the ultimate think piece clickbait. All the boomers, which is just anyone old, and all the millennials, which is just anyone young, are fighting. The Kenny Rogers and the Kane Browns are in an existential war of okay boomer. And in today's video, I'm going to attempt to apply the okay boomer debate to the country music conversation. So press like for topical content. So if you're totally unfamiliar, okay boomer is this phrase that has become a total meme where it's just a way of writing off a generation above you, of suggesting that you're out of touch, you're old, you don't get it. You can just say, okay boomer, and it's a way of really belittling your opponent if they're older than you. And yeah, obviously it's disrespectful, that's the point. One of the things that's interesting about this channel and kind of my work in general is that I have two pretty disparate audiences. Because I'm here on YouTube, I have a lot of younger followers. That's just how it is. It's like a lot of high school, college-aged people. However, because my taste tends to be a little bit more traditional, I have a lot of older country fans that follow me as well. So I've got these two kind of factions that think very differently about the world, and I'm constantly hearing from everyone kind of what they think about my taste. The young people being like, you need to cover more Hardy, you need to do something on Morgan Wallen, and then you have some of the older people saying, why are you bothering covering Hardy? Why are you bothering covering Morgan Wallen? That's not true country music. And I'm just trying to always keep everyone happy, and I'm just trying to cover what I want to cover in the country music space. And because I've received so many messages over the past year from so many different types of people, I've sort of threaded together some trends that I've noticed in the different age groups. How young people might misperceive older people, how older people, boomers, might misperceive younger people who are probably more Gen Z than millennial, but they typically just call them millennials. And so this video, I'm going to be going over some of the misunderstandings between older and younger country music fans. First, let's talk about three things that older country fans don't always understand about younger country fans. Number one, the internet is way more important than radio. Now, you talk to any country fan of a certain age and they will tell you that country radio is everything, especially if you're talking to somebody in the industry. All of the old guard of Nashville is like radio, radio, radio. Radio makes money. You go on radio tour. You want to get a #1 single at country radio. Country radio is the secret to everything. And I'm not going to sit here and trash country radio. I understand that it plays an important role in the industry. However, any country fan that has grown up with Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube, for them, the internet tends to be a much more important place for music discovery, and certainly a cooler pool to be playing in than radio. I think you can look at the fact that these guys that have big #1 singles on radio and are playing to really small theaters or clubs when they can finally go headline a tour, you see that radio doesn't actually produce real passionate fandom. Meanwhile, you look at someone like Casey Musgraves, who has almost no radio success and is playing giant amphitheaters and is selling them out wherever she goes, and you start to realize, wow, there might be a whole generation of people that don't even care if their favorite artist is being played on country radio. Number two, not all new music is bad music. One of the most frustrating arguments that older country fans often make in the comments of my videos and a bunch of places is just saying, you know, Hank wouldn't have done it like this, or country today sucks. And that's just not fair. It's not fair to just broadly say all music today sucks. That's a common fallacy that's relying on nostalgia for your argument. A lot of people do that in the movie world too. They say, oh, they don't make any good movies anymore. I mean, think about Casablanca, think about Psycho, think about Citizen Kane. And you're like, well, yeah, we remember those movies because they're great. But there have always been terrible movies that are being made. Similarly, in the country world, there's always been bad music. It's just the stuff we remember is the great stuff. And anyone that can't find any quality being made today simply doesn't want to see it. You find what you're looking for. So if you were determined to find that all music today sucks, well, that just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's a different statement than a lot of what's coming out now sucks, which I and many other people agree with. But everything coming out now sucks? Heck no! Have you heard Cody Jinks? Have you heard the Turnpike Troubadours? Or like Eric Church's output, Miranda Lambert's output? these are not bad artists. And yeah, they're thoroughly modern. And so I think people gotta drop that argument. I think it just makes younger fans tune them out. And mind you, there are some great fans that don't engage in any of that kind of conversation online, but there's a lot that do. Number 3, for many younger folk, the idea of genre just isn't that important. Probably the most common and most boomer of all things that you will see written is country plus rap equals crap. You'll see that on Twitter, you'll see it on Facebook, you'll see it on YouTube comments. It is a very common refrain, this idea that because rap and country are merged, they are bad. You'll see a lot of people that can't stand the fact that Diplo is collaborating with Morgan Wallen, or Kane Brown is collaborating with Marshmello, or, Nelly and Florida Georgia Line are making music together. That pisses a lot of people off. Whereas there's a whole other category of fans, and they tend to be a lot younger, that say, why do you care so much? Just let people make whatever they want. Now, I think there's actually a really great argument to be made about genre distinctions and why they're important and how they help preserve the diversity of music. But so often that is not the argument that's made. There is simply a blanket statement thrown out that oh, young people want to destroy genres. Whereas I actually think that when people take the time to explain their perspective on genre distinctions, why they think they matter, how that actually preserves diversity of sounds rather than blending everything into one monogenre, most young people I've heard are actually pretty open to the concept, and it really aligns with a lot of thoughts about racial diversity that many people learn today. And then, because I'm not going to make a whole video just shitting on older people, here are 3 things I think younger fans don't understand about older country fans. Number 1, not all older country fans are just redneck conservatives. There can be a real nasty sort of way that people are talked about by young writers, that many young country fans talk about older fans, and you'll hear them just be like, oh yeah, like my racist conservative Fox News watching grandfather loves country music. And I get that, because I know we got Neil McCoy singing stuff like, take a knee, my ass.
Take a knee, my ass. I'll stand up for the flag.
But I think that misunderstands a lot of country music history. I mean, we've had really progressive ideas from artists like Willie Nelson singing about weed, from people like Loretta Lynn singing about birth control, all throughout country music history. And in fact, I would almost argue that right now there's kind of this trolly, fratty, young conservative thing among young country fans right now, and I'd bet that a lot of them are actually much more conservative than some of the older people that are often framed that way in country music. The second thing young people don't always understand about older country music fans is that they often have a musical reason to be angry at new country music. I know I just talked about how the nostalgia argument gets made way too much by older country fans, but at the same time, a lot of older country fans make really valid arguments about how lyricism and musicality is getting stripped out of a lot of modern mainstream country music, and sometimes the argument just gets spun back to them as, okay, boomer. And I don't think that's really fair. When you hear a beautiful Chris Christopherson lyric on something like Sunday Morning Coming Down, when you see Barbara Mandrell playing the pedal steel as she's winning Entertainer of the Year at the CMAs, and then you put that up against some of the snap track nonsense that's on the radio today that is vanilla and synthesizered and just so faceless, that's a musical argument that you're saying, man, this stuff was better than this stuff. Not just because it's old and I grew up with it, but because it's better. It's richer, it requires more talent, it's more complex, and I think if we can stop ourselves from saying, okay, boomer, we'll hear some truth in the rebuke. And the number 3 thing I don't think younger fans always understand is that older fans aren't so clout-driven. We live in the age of the Kardashians, where the goal is to have as many eyes on you as possible. And we have a very capitalistic relationship with art. If a ton of people are watching it, if a ton of people are engaging with it, if it's pissing everyone off and getting tongues wagging and getting streams, then it's good. And I think that's a pretty modern internet-driven phenomenon. It is really a value that a lot of younger fans hold right now, way more than previous generations. Older music fans have seen fads come and go. Older country fans saw Olivia Newton-John randomly go country for 2 seconds and then kind of leave. They saw Achy Breaky Heart become a big one-hit wonder. So when they can't muster up the energy to really care all that much if Lil Nas X is suddenly a country star for 2 seconds, well yeah, they've kind of seen all these flash-in-the-pan successes and know that it doesn't really make a big mark in the history of country music overall. But part of being young is enjoying the rebellion of new things that are subverting the industry, that are disrupting. And I get that too. So those are the things that I see as ways that the boomers and the millennials are kind of always fighting in the country music conversation right now. I think generally, here's the thing about me. I'm pretty open to new arguments, and I think generally both sides of an argument usually have a point. And I think a little bit of generosity goes a really long way to better understanding the world around you. And I think that applies to country music as much as it applies to anything else. So, boomers, millennials, if you like this video, give it a like, share it if there's something that you think's interesting in here, and we'll be back with a lot more stuff coming up very soon.